Neil Cavuto's got it figured out. Don't worry, he's on the job. He's on Fox News. He's talking to a congressman, and he's going to say, hey, look, it's not the Bush administration's fault. It's your fault. You should have done some regulation. Congressman fights back on it, says, hey, look, what am I going to do? We tried our best, and Bush wouldn't buy it. But in the midst of that, he says it once, and then he says it again. In another clip that I saw, he said it a third time. And like I said, I had to watch this a couple of times to make sure I was understanding what he was saying. Neil Cavuto thinks that the financial meltdown was because of black people. It was the minorities' fault. You can't even imagine the rationale, right? So let's watch it and try to figure it out.
I just wonder, with Congress holding all these hearings, and you're right, there are a lot of them planned, does anyone hold hearings on what you guys knew or didn't know, or whether you were ignorant or not? I mean, does anyone look at, I know the buck stops with the president, but at least it stops by you guys. What were you
Why are they showing Obama, by the way?
We were trying to get answers from the administration. Unfortunately, it
what does this have to do with Obama?
The complete picture of what was going on. We can only know what the administration tells us about their administration of the government.
All right, but let me ask you, Congressman, when you and many of your colleagues were pushing for more minority lending and more expanded lending to folks who heretofore couldn't get mortgages, when you were pushing home ownership, seriously, again with the best of interest. I'm not blaming one of it.
Who did that?
So
I'm not aware of anyone asking anyone to make a loan to someone who couldn't afford it.
Wait a minute. Are you totally without culpability here? Are you totally blameless? Are you totally irresponsible of anything that happened?
Neil, if you can tell me what Congress did not do that it should have done, I'm more than willing to take a look at that and answer your question. But as far as I can tell, with regard to what the Fed did, the Fed is an entity, a body that is under the administration, at least to some degree. We can only write responses from the Fed or from the administration. But again, if you can point out something that Congress did not do.
Your hindsight, Congressman, is 20/20. I'm not denying that. I'm just wondering whether did you warn or express concern about any things that happened? I'm not saying that one or the other is beyond blame. I'm just saying I don't remember a clarion call that said Fannie and Freddie are a disaster. Loaning to minorities and risky folks is a disaster. Maybe if you said it, enlighten me.
Absolutely, we did.
Did you hear what he just said? That loaning to minorities and other risky folks is a disaster. That's what was the cause of this financial meltdown. That we lent to minorities and other risky folks. Earlier he said, it was the Democrats who wanted more minority lending. At first I was like, well, does he mean minority shareholders? What is he talking about? No, it turns out upon watching that and other clips, he's talking about black folks and Latinos. Well, if you hadn't lent to black people, you think they could own a house? Well, of course they were going to default on it. That's why it's your fault. I don't have words for the outrage anymore. I mean, it's slipped from outrage to amusement. How can they make this argument with a straight face in America today? Although I'm not sure their face was so straight. You see the mug on Cavuto? Man, did he have a sour pussy. And he's trying to figure out how to get himself out of this mess, right? And he can't figure it out, so he's like, well, I'm going to share the blame. So he does a classic Fox News trick, invites a Democratic congressman on and bashes him, makes it appear as if it was the Democratic congressman's fault. It wasn't the Bush. Well, a lot of blame to go around here. But, Mr. Congressman, why didn't you do anything? He's like, well, I tried. We tried to get them to regulate it and they wouldn't. Oh, well, are you saying you're not responsible at all? He's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Meanwhile, and this is the great classic Fox trick, the whole time they have an image up of Obama. Why? They weren't talking about Obama at all. They were talking about Congress, and they were talking about the Bush administration. They were talking about this federal bailout. Why is a picture of Obama up the whole time? Because they want to make it seem like it's Obama's fault, it's the Democratic congressman's fault, and of course, as Cavuto said there, all that minority lending and other risky folks like that. See, and the congressman, I know he's quick, and he probably didn't even have time to comprehend what Cavuto was saying. But I would have loved somebody to say right there, Neil, are you saying we shouldn't have lent to minorities? That's what caused the financial meltdown? Did you just make that argument? How can anybody take Fox News seriously?